And focus now, Republican Senator Tom Cotton of the great state of Arkansas. Now, Senator, I mentioned moments ago that you're on the Senate Intel, you're on Armed Services, Judiciary. As I cover the crisis at the border, it's almost like all of those things are intersecting now. When you have people coming across two borders, we need intelligence, don't we?
Good morning, Harris. Border security is national security. I mean, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And as Bill Malugin's, again, excellent reporting indicated, there are terrible, depraved criminals, drug traffickers, child rapists coming across our border every day. Just recently, we've caught almost 40 people on the terror watch list. How many people do you think got away from the terror watch list?
I don't know.
Is there going to be another 9/11 in this country because of our open borders? So you're right that this is a national security threat in addition to being a threat to our communities with crime and drugs and threatening the jobs of hardworking Americans. Joe Biden needs to take steps to close our border, to tell people not to come. If they do come, they'll be deported. And there certainly should not be any efforts at immigration reform in the Congress until immigration laws are changed to control our borders.
Yeah, and what I also hear you saying, and many other Republicans and some Democrats who I've interviewed, all of everything has to wait until we can stop the flow coming into this country, because you can't handle what you have right now. So I don't even know how we could prescribe and then pass legislation that would help until we get a handle on it all.
Yeah, Harris, in the first 2 years of the Biden administration alone, we've had almost 6 million people enter our country. Many of those people are giving work permits so they can go into our communities and take jobs, oftentimes jobs that are unskilled or low skilled, that are going to harm working class Americans. So I really don't have much time for people who claim that we need to increase the number of green cards or increase immigrant worker visas at a time when Joe Biden has let 6 million people into our country. Until we get control of our southern border, we should not be taking any further steps on immigration reform.
Just one quick one. As we are learning now about the illegal crossings in the last 3 months being more than they were in the last 2 years on our northern border, what are your immediate thoughts?
Well, as I often say, in this environment, every state is a border state and every town is a border town, whether you're on the Mexican border or on our northern border with some of this troubling new reporting. Because, again, the people coming here are not simply coming here and putting strains on our job markets and our schools and our hospitals and housing. In some cases, they are depraved criminals, child rapists, gang members, drug traffickers, even terrorists. And whether they cross the southern border or the northern border, it poses a grave threat to the American people.
All right, let's talk about the debt ceiling. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has a warning for people. She says it's disastrous economic consequences that we face if Congress does not raise the nation's debt ceiling this summer. Here's what she told Axios. In the event of a default, we'll have a financial crisis, and I believe we would have recession in the United States. Yellen's remarks come as the Biden administration is trying to pressure House Republicans to raise the debt ceiling as fast as possible. However, the House GOP is saying it wants sharp spending cuts to address the debt ceiling. Let's watch together the House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
I want to find a reasonable and a responsible way that we can lift the debt ceiling but take control of this runaway spending. I mean, if you look at the last 4 years, the Democrats have increased spending by 30%, $400 billion. We're at 120% of GDP. We haven't been in this place to debt since World War II. So we can't continue down this path.
So what is the answer to go forward in your estimation?
Well, Harris, I agree with Speaker McCarthy. I agree with every House Republican that we shouldn't have a default, but we shouldn't simply lift the debt ceiling without taking some steps to address the runaway domestic spending that we've seen in this country under Democrats over the last couple years. The simplest way to do that would be to rein in some of Joe Biden's extreme plans. And you heard Janet Yellen say we may have a debt ceiling limit hit this summer. Well, Joe Biden is trying to spend almost $1 trillion on his reckless student loan bailout that would benefit left-wing universities that have irresponsibly raised tuition and fees and hired thousands of administrators in recent years. That alone would probably push this out several months. What I don't think we should do is cut defense spending at a time when China is threatening our allies in the Western Pacific and Russia has launched the largest ground war in Europe since World War II. We saw that in 2011. It devastated our military. We need to make sure that we fully fund defense to face the threats around the world.
Just real quickly, you say don't default. What is your leverage as Republicans then, would be my first question. And you know the president won't negotiate with any of you.
Well, he and the Democrats say that right now, and it's an irresponsible and cynical position. The fact of the matter is, for decades, the debt ceiling has often been a time for Congress to take steps to try to rein in out of control domestic spending.
Does it work?
His own boss did it in 2011. At times it has, at times it hasn't, but there's no time like the present to try to address some of that runaway domestic spending that Speaker McCarthy was talking about. Again, you can't balance the budget overnight when the deficits are so large, but we can begin to take steps forward to try to improve the fiscal picture for our country.
Senator Tom Cotton of the great state of Arkansas, it is a big few steps ahead that we have on that subject. The previous one, though, I mean, it seems like we are fast going in the wrong direction like never before with the border. I'm so glad that you were on to talk with me about all of it. Thank you.